All right, welcome to another edition of In Conversation here on Rock Show Critique. And today, boy, have we lined up a very special guest for you here. And this guy is coming out with a new album. Actually, it's out already. Um, it's one of these albums that you must hear. Great new album called Live and Let Live. Here's our guest, none other than Marc Storace. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here. Good evening. Well, for me, it's good evening. For you, it must be good afternoon or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 2 o'clock here right now, so we're about
Okay.
six hours behind you.
Okay, cool.
So now let's get to the meat of the order here. So obviously, you guys had a plan, Krokus, saying, you guys had a plan to go out and do a farewell tour.
Yeah.
And as we know, this whole pandemic thing really, took a bite out of that. So then obviously, tell us about the how you arrived at the new album here. Was that a result of something you were going to do after the farewell tour if it would have happened? How did you come about everything here?
Well, actually, it goes back a long time. I always played with the idea of doing a solo album, but never got the time. And then I started working on one with this friend of mine, guitar player Charlie Preissel. And we wrote about 19, 20 odd songs, one of which is Live and Let Live, which is the title of my solo album today. And this was like 20, 23 years ago. Um, but then we got back together with Krokus and did the whole thing, Rock the Block and the live album Fire and Gasoline. And then came Hellraiser. And after that came the big reunion of the originals. And we had our first concert in 2008, 2009. We released Hoodoo, and then came Dirty Dynamite, and after that, that was followed by Big Rocks and the Farewell Tour, which brings us to 2019, and then during which time, all the time, I've always done stuff parallel to Crocus, because I believe in keeping my voice in shape by going out there and singing.
Hmm hmm
Plus, I get to meet other musicians and have some fun. So, one of these things I did in 2019, parallel to the Farewell Tour, which was a great festival tour, the biggest festival tour in Europe Crocus ever did, starting with Sweden Rock and with Wacken in the middle and ending at the Hallenstadion in 2019, December 7th or 9th. I always mix those dates up. It was kind of a sweet and sour day because at the end of a day, at the end of a concert, we had tears in our eyes. It was like everybody was out there with their hankies and waving goodbye. And I couldn't believe this was over. But as he said, we have to carry on with this farewell tour over across the big pond in the USA and Canada and the UK and Mexico and so on and so forth. And then came, baff, COVID, and it knocked everybody down. And the whole show business was suffering, and people were shutting down, going bankrupt, and stuff like that. Not only in show business, of course.
hmm
And so I thought, well, we're locked down here at home. It's the safest place to be right now,
Yeah.
and I didn't even want to go out. But then my daughter and I decided to do, because we occasionally did karaoke together, And we decided to record some and put it online and see what happens. And the reaction was great. And so Juliana, that's her name, my daughter's name, Juliana, and myself did these. We did more karaoke's, and then we were called to do streaming on a couple of TV stations here, and one of them was at Z7, where actually I'm playing with my band soon. Um, so it reached a point where people were even expecting a an album from father and daughter, you know. So that's what I said to Juliana. Okay, so now it's time to pull the curtain on this thing, because we don't want to do a father and daughter. We want to do a daughter. We want to do your solo album, Juliana, on your own.
Mhm.
And for that, you're going to have songs. You've got to have songs ready, songs that fit, you know, tailor made for your voice. And she has a special voice, you know, it's very, she's a sensitive person, yet strong, you know, good balance. So, anyway, she's working on that. So, when we pulled the curtain, it got really dark for me. You know, I was watching movies and nothing else happening musically. So it didn't take longer than a week for me to open my drawer, this one right here. You can hear it. And that's where I threw all lyrics, leftovers and stuff, which I've collected over years, and some whole stuff and some bits and pieces, which even I puzzled together to make a whole thing. And then my archive on my computer with all these old demos, which I did with Charlie. And I started working with this guy in Newcastle, you know, this guitar player. He plays in a progressive rock band called Stuckfish in Newcastle. His name is Adrian Fisher. And he was throwing ideas at me across the channel, you know, which I thought, wow, that's really emotional stuff. Some of it was a little bit too progressive, you know, there's a lot of parts. And but I wasn't looking for material that sounds like Krokus to start with. I didn't want to do a carry on Krokus kind of thing, you know. It's enough that it's the same voice, you know. But and I wanted to have a slightly different touch in the music and get away from the boogie stuff. And he was sending great ideas, and we ended up three of his ideas, which I continued with lyrics and vocal melodies. I sang here in this office and with the cat on my lap and really cozy, and spent hours working on that stuff and recorded everything and sent over ideas and blah blah to and fro. So that was the second guy I worked with, you know, Charlie and Adrian. And the other two guys who actually supplied five more songs, which are on the album. The album's called Live and Let Live. um, were actually guys I met through working on this TV series called Sing My Song in Gran Canaria for Swiss television. And the names are Cyril Comensin and Massimo Buonanno. Cyril plays guitar and Massimo's a drummer. And they were producing and recording uh, and also musical direction for the whole musical side of this series, which came out actually during lockdown on Swiss television. And it got such high quotes. The music went gold, you know. And so it was one thing which happened during a very dull moment, if you like, which was enlightening and but brought some sunshine into everybody's sitting rooms via television during this lockdown frustration time. That was good. So then I recorded the album with studio musicians, experienced guys, really fast, very technically up there. So we didn't waste much time, and we did the whole the the backing tracks, actually, rhythm section and everything. We recorded in an old school way all together
Mm.
in this studio they have called Power Play Studios. And it was amazing the way things went. It was simply amazing. And we had breaks in between, so I could be objective and everybody could had time to change stuff if they wanted to, but hardly anybody changed anything from the actual uh, you know basic recordings.
Mm.
And obviously then when the guitar player came in and started going for the solos, it like put down minimum 5 to up to 15 different solos, and we'd go for the best one. And you immediately feel, well, that was it. And maybe a bit of the other one. So
Mm.
you cut stuff together via Pro Tools.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the stuff in the studio was all analog. We had this old tape, Studer, the old Swiss machine, uh, and an old Neve 32 track desk, and the studio itself is old, you know, and it's modernized as well,
Mm. Okay.
but all the old stuff that we could use made me feel at home, because I did 12 studio albums with Krokus, and we recorded them in different studios all over the world with different producers, different engineers. And so I'm used to that, the old school way. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Well,
This
you
is my after dinner grappa.
you just mentioned that you worked with a lot of producers. It did seem like you've worked with many of the who's who in recording albums. Did you have a favorite guy that you liked working with that you would have wished you did a few more albums with? Because it seems like you just did an album with one guy, then you did another one with one guy, and it just went down the list or something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, changing scene, changing sounds, changing fashions, changing producers, you know, even changing a lot of musicians in the band. That was something that I was always against, because every time you pick a flower, you kind of influence the whole universe. You change one thing, it's like, so yeah. Well, Tom Allen, I really enjoyed working with. But let's go back to the first album. My debut album with Krokus went straight to platinum, if you like. It was
Hmm.
the album that opened the doors for Krokus for the rest of the world. The album's called Metal Rendezvous, and it was produced by um, Pearson.
Hmm.
um, Me and names. Oh, sorry.
Martin.
Martin Pearson, thank you very much. Good to have a connoisseur on the other side of the microphone. Yeah, Martin Pearson and I had fun. He really knew how to go get along with me and get the best out of me. And there's a whole lot more I gave to Metal Rendezvous that was on the actual demos, and I rated the demo that I heard of that album to be pretty great, but I added more on top, I just kept on and on and improvised stuff and changed some lyrics here and there. And it went on and on, with
Hmm.
uh, hardware. I think it was Mark Durnley, and we went to the Roundhouse in Chalk Farm in London. I was still living in London there. Um, and then we did One Vice at a Time with Tony Platt and Battery Studios. And there was Mutt Long mixing ACDC's For Those About to Rock next door. Uh, and Tony had been working with Mutt as engineer on previous productions. So there was this big family feel, including Malcolm Young popping his head in and out and up in the green room smoking, in between listening, going back down to see what Mutt was doing with the mixes or whatever they were doing. I think it was the mixes. It was the first time I popped my head in and heard Brian Johnson's voice. I thought, wow, amazing. He could really keep those notes and that grit, incredible. Uh, yeah, then after that came Tom Allen. And it was around Christmas time, New Year. We were in Florida, and we had done the whole pre-production in Mountain Home, Arkansas, because that's where our manager lived. And there was this little studio there run by Bob Ketchum, God rest his soul. And he recorded all the demos. And we had a great time there. Tom Allen flew into Mountain Home already, and he checked what we had done and gave some advice, and I lapped it all up, because I was a big Judas Priest fan and
Hmm.
still am. And yeah, then he fell off one of Butch's horses
Oh.
and broke his arm. So he did the whole production in Florida in plaster, and couldn't play the piano in between because he plays piano, Tom. And I met him recently in Zurich. We went to a Priest concert together. It was nice. Met the boys again, and it was nice. And because he lives in Milano, uh, at least in summer anyway, which is very close by in Italy. So yeah, after Headhunter, we had a reshuffle, and it was like civil war during that time. We were on the Def Leppard tour. It was the biggest, greatest, most unforgettable tour in my life, I guess. Well, for me anyway. And we had our album Headhunter. It reached number 24 in the Billboard chart. So we were like, this band coming from Switzerland, which is more known for chocolates and banks and watches than rock and roll, and me coming from Malta, an even much smaller place, this sunny island known for, I don't know, for summer holidays. um, so anyway, and we reached that point, and it was a moment to be proud. We had achieved our dreams. We were on tour like 3 to 9 months a year. We started off as a opening act playing smoky little clubs, and it went from year to year real fast. Bands like Sammy Hagar, Judas Priest, Van Halen, AC/DC, Rush. We did the whole of Florida with Rush, and we were like, yeah, you might say, as they say, a gold band, uh, right, like riding along with the platinum bands. You know what I mean? Like Rainbow and so even with Ozzy and it just. But I don't regret a single day. It was so nice being out there and doing the real thing. It was my dream since I was a kid in Malta. Started singing at the age of 14. No idea where I was gonna go. I just did it for fun. Cheers. Mm. And we reached that point, and I managed to keep clear of any heavy drugs. So it was, there's lots of temptations on the road, life on the fast lane, and too many victims of those temptations. I mean, I wasn't exactly a good boy, but I wasn't. I I didn't, go all the way. At least it must be my upbringing. I was brought up in a musical family, but more the classical side. Father was a tenor, mom played piano, and my eldest sister was a piano teacher and played for ballet and stuff like that, another world. And I got the rock and roll virus from the jukebox on the corner uh, of our street, on the crossroads opposite this church. So I was like in between heaven and hell since the age of, I don't know, 12, hearing all this music and seeing these teenagers with, uh, leather jackets and Elvis hairstyles going into this bar with a jukebox and not being allowed in because we're too young. They sold alcohol and cigarettes in there. So me and my friends sat on the corner opposite and just took the virus in. It was nice, and we could see what was happening there.
Mhm.
Smooching and arguments and girls crying, running out, drama and stuff. But it was better than it was actually 5 doors away from home, so it was a kind of safe place to see the real thing. And across the road was heaven. The the parish priest who used to come out and grab us like this and pull us
Ah.
away when we played football on the terrace of the church. All this stuff. And then I started singing actually in public in that church, in the school choir, singing Christmas carols, Silent Night, Oh Come, Oh Ye Faithful, and all that
All the traditionals.
nice stuff, which I
Yeah.
later sang with my kids and around the Christmas tree. I'm still a kind of traditional kind of guy. So yeah, amazing stuff, amazing.
All right. And then obviously getting back to the producer thing here.
Sorry, yeah, I
Oh
always
no,
go
you're
off
good.
on
You're good. Um, so obviously then came Change of Address. And you were working with Tom Werman on that album. How did you guys arrive at the title? Who actually named that album?
our tour manager, LD, this big guy called Little Dave.
Huh.
David, David Glover. He used to come up with good titles, good ideas, like One Vice at a Time,
Hmm.
And I guess it was one of his, because he also came up with To Rock or Not to Be, which
Mm,
came later on.
yeah.
So it could have been one of LD's ideas, change of address, because we were actually changing our style. We went from Headhunter, double bass drum, Ah, headhunter, all that, to uh, oh, say
Well, the Blitz.
goodbye, but
Yeah.
never deny. Becoming a little bit more mature. You know what I mean? And going a little bit more commercial. Yeah.
Now, was that a record company decision or was it a group decision that you guys said, "Hey, let's change things up a little bit here"?
Oof. I think it was a mixture of everything. You know, um, in the beginning, you're younger, uh, wilder, crazy. You don't give a shit, so to speak, and you just go for it, and you want to be rebellious, and and stuff. And I guess later on, after the Headhunter tour, and being on tour with actually being on tour with Def Leppard influenced. Um, I know it influenced the record company, our management, and our booker, because they saw how good things were going for Def Leppard. They're selling tons of merchandising and stuff. But they were kind of a different cup of tea from us, from Krokus. We were like the wild bunch coming off the road after years of nonstop touring. We were like the wild, torn up road warriors, playing before thousands of kids waiting to see Def Leppard, who had these big hits, these radio hits. Photograph was maybe one of the more commercial ones, but they had other great hits which were really rocking. I mean, I loved Pyromania. It's still my favorite album, and not just because I was on that tour. Um, but yeah, the record company then started to come down heavy on us, including all three of them, manager and booker, all together in a room with us. And Chris rebelled, of course, and we were on his side in the beginning, but then kind of he dropped, how can I dropped a stone on his own foot, because he spilled the beans with some band secrets and stuff, and which he shared with the Swiss press, maybe thinking nobody would know in the USA. But oh boy, did things get heavy for us then, and it cost us thousands, like over 100,000 in lawyers' fees.
Oof.
Uh, thanks to him, and so it was like he lost our loyalty, you know. So Fernando and myself decided to go on without him, and we kind of looked at the whole scene, and you can't come out with another Headhunter album and stay on that line. We're not Judas Priest. You know, Krokus were always variated. It was a bit of blowing in the wind, kind of changing a little bit with every album in this direction or that direction. And then we did the Blitz first, with Bruce Fairbairn in Vancouver, and this was amazing. This an amazing change from Headhunter to the Blitz, and from the Blitz to Change of Address was another uh, softer album. And I have to say at this point that before going in to record my lead vocals, we were in Los Angeles. I got a phone call from home in Malta that my dad was in hospital after a stroke, and I should make it over as soon as possible. And I did that and stayed there for a week and He didn't even know I was there.
Mm.
But I did my thing and flew back and took a couple of days to get back into the studio and back into the singing mood. And the songs were not um, aggressive songs anyway on Change of Address. And I even added, thanks to what just happened, a more bluesy touch, which have had in me anyway, from the beginning. I always had this soulful blues. I was into soul music, actually, black soul music for years, parallel to other stuff, the Beatles, Stones, uh, you know, Wilson Pickett and all that stuff. And so Change of Address came out that way, and well, hey, it's like paintings, you go to a Van Gogh or whatever, and they don't paint the same picture every day. So,
Yeah.
uh, and some sell more than others, and maybe some are flops and some are hits.
Well, I mean, my take on the album is that, you know, like you said, you go from Hen Hunter down to this. I mean, it, it's what everybody, what you perceive it as. Now, my take of it is, now obviously you guys went on tour with Priest for this album, on the Turbo tour. You guys were the opener for that tour. The only thing that I
Yeah.
was kind of surprised by is, obviously now when you guys arrived at writing the set list for the Priest tour, you decided to play like Rainy Day Women and the Bob Dylan cover and the Alice Cooper cover, School's Out. But I'm kind of surprised you guys didn't try to play the two songs on the album that had more bite on it, like Now All Through the Night and Burning Up the Night. Did you guys ever just think about playing those two songs, or was it a choice of the concert promoter, or did you guys still have the final say on what you were going to play?
No, we still had the final say, but I didn't get that first song you mentioned.
Now All Through the Night.
Now, yeah, yeah,
Now,
now.
yeah, it's a great
Mhm.
song. Great song.
Yeah, that's that. Well, at least it has some bite in it.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember what we played actually. I, to be honest, can't remember what we played, but we also mixed in some older stuff, as you
Oh yeah.
always have to do anyway. I mean, some bands only play two new songs from a new album, and the rest is all older stuff, um, which is different for me. What I'm playing in these common concerts is like I'm playing nearly my whole new album,
Hmm.
and of course it's not enough to fill in a whole concert. So I have to put in some older stuff. So I decided to do a bit of a history of my career. You
Hmm.
know, gave me this opportunity to do a song from T, which was a progressive rock band which I joined in early 70s in Switzerland. And it was the band that allowed me to actually to enter the professional world of writing,
Hmm.
doing demos, going to the studio. Up in Cologne, Dieter Dierks, producer of the Scorpions,
Hmm.
um, in the early 70s. We did 3 albums with him. And we toured with every album, obviously, and it took us all over Europe. Um, and in fact, we were a pioneer
Hmm.
band for the Swiss rock scene, carrying the Swiss flag
Hmm.
all over Europe, um, with even less success here back home, you know, unfortunately. Uh, But anyway, this was a great stepping stone for me, if you like. And after that, I went back to London and formed this band eventually called Easy Money. And we had this song which ended up on this compilation called Metal from Others 2, a song called Telephone Man. During the new wave of British heavy metal uh, insurgents. And so I'm going to play that one on the tour on these dates coming up. And then there's a couple of Krokus songs, and one song which we haven't done for a long, long time, and is very popular in the USA. Was, you know, we did a video which it got heavy rotation on MTV in those days in the 80s. It was called Midnight Maniac, you know,
Hmm.
and so we're doing that one. And then there's another song which I always loved singing, but we also stopped doing like since ages. And that's called To the Top. You know, it's from the One Vice at a Time album. And I love that riff. I mean, Fernando came up with these most incredible riffs. You know, I have to give him that. You know, and the drum, doof, daff, doof, daff, doof, really heavy recorded. You know, amazing. Um, yeah, so those are the covers there. Then there was another adventure I had. This Blue album.
Hmm.
It was supposed to be my first solo album, but then became a band name instead of Marc Storace. It was called Blue, um, which I did with this genius guitar player, Vic Verja. And we wrote all the songs together. And we wrote this one song with the producer, Robert Papst. We recorded the whole thing outside Munich. And the song is called You Can't Stop the Rainfall. And it's actually a song which was sung by another singer in this TV production I talked about before in Gran Canaria for Swiss television called Sing Mine Song. You can't stop the rainfall, so put on. It's it's a commercial song, you know, it's a pop
Hmm.
song, really. But we add a little bit more uh, cojones to it, you know. And but I believe, you know, if you're presenting a new album, like 8 songs from the new album, and then I'm allowed to bring up a little bit of my historical past, you know. After all, I'm only a young teenager, you know. uh, and it's fun for me. It's fun, and that's why I'm still doing this, because it's fun.
Hmm.
If it wasn't fun, I'd just you know, sit in a corner and have different kind of fun. But I like to get out there, back on stage, and go through the, you know, go through the paces and be with musicians, and you know, special kind of humor, and yeah, it's nice rocking with the boys.
Now, your live band here that you're going to be using, is this the same studio musicians you've used for the
Mhm.
album?
Yeah, all except one, the lead guitarist Turi Vicky, um, alias Art. Um, he's a lead guitarist that joined for the live tour, because the original guy who's on the album, Jean-Pierre Fontach, which who I know since ages, he couldn't go on the road with me because he's on tour with 2 different artists. You know, he had
Mm.
contracts. So, but that's okay, you know. because this is a solo project. If it's a band, and you keep changing members every month, then it doesn't work. But I believe I'm allowed more freedom now. So yeah, I decided, we worked together so intensely in the studio, and it's like that I forgot that these guys are studio musicians. I said, guys, you must come on tour with me. It's like we got this brotherhood thing going. Um, but they tick different. Jimmy Page used to be a studio musician, and then
Yeah.
he decided to go full Led Zeppelin, of course. I mean, when Led Zeppelin went boof, you can't go working in the studios, Um, but I appreciate what they do. And so I'm just going to enjoy going out with them. And we're going to have more fun because we already did 2 gigs.
Mhm.
Um, and nowadays, and right after the COVID times, it's like, hey, wow, I did 2 gigs. Wow. It's like, no, it's not 200 gigs too.
So now that it
But
sounds like you're focusing in on the new album and everything, and you're going to be going out on the road more fully with some more dates getting added and stuff as you go along, I assume.
I
Does
hope
that
so, yeah.
Yeah, does that put a kibosh on the U.S. farewell tour for Krokus? Will we never see that happen, or is that something that still might happen down the road?
Well, if it had to happen, I'll be there. No worries. But I actually have to say, of yeah, 2 years ago, we would have gone on and finished the tour.
Yeah.
Adios amigos. We would have played US dates, Canada dates, Mexico, the UK, and God knows what, because while you're doing those, some more dates come in. But these 2 years of COVID have really like
Mm-hmm.
killed killed the whole spirit, and everybody's doing their own thing. Fernando's got his band Badass Romance happening, playing gigs here, there. And we even came together because I've been doing this project called This Is Rock. It's in a circus tent, something I've been doing parallel to Krokus since years. Before it used to be called Rock Circus. And now it took another shape and form and style and everything. And it's pretty cool. And Fernando just joined in now. We did 2 gigs so far, and we've got more coming up. And we go up and do some a crocus medley actually, and that's it.
Hmm.
And Chris is all over here, there, and everywhere. And sometimes you read something which he writes in the newspaper or something. Mark's got another job. And Flavio Mezzodi's is now the house drummer for Gotthard, which used to be like a rival band, a generation younger than Krokus. Um, and he's fine. I wish them all well and everything. And let's see, maybe if we get the call again and everybody has time to think it over, and that, I don't know, but right now I don't see it happening as you ask me right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, obviously, you guys haven't been able to get over here much over the last 20 years or so. Obviously, you were out here on 2015 on a short run,
Yeah.
and then 2005 you actually played out here by us in Buffalo. What's usually the problem? Why you guys are it's hard for you guys to tour out here? Can you kind of give us some of the roadblocks that you guys encounter trying to book U.S. tours?
Well, it starts with the work permits,
Yeah.
and they cost money. Then the tax, and then the booking fees, percentages, uh, the renting out of equipment, buses, hotels, and everything. So, if you're going to do a club tour, you can't even pay for all that. And we haven't been there for a long while, so we don't expect to come over and do a headliner tour in stadiums. We're far from that again, because in the meantime, there's a lot of water under the bridge, and that's how it is. Your status sinks because there's no longer promoters who believe that you're gonna, bring in the money back for them. So I guess, that's the way it is. It's like a vicious circle. If you don't come over, you have to come over one day and get the ball rolling again, and then come back the next year and the next year, you know, to reach the status that you were used to. And you have to also release a new album
Mm.
to accompany that. And a new album isn't enough. Albums don't sell anymore. There's Spotify, all these parasites around, streaming, which don't give you your money's worth. Uh, the amount you spend in a studio, I mean,
Mm.
already I paid that from my own pocket and my managers. We went 50-50 and did this whole thing together. There's no record company behind us. And so I would love to come over. Now, forget Krokus. That's a
Yeah.
bigger fish, I
Right.
admit. It's the same with Rolling Stones and Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger doesn't sell as much as the Rolling Stones, no, nor does Robert Plant compared to Led Zeppelin. So I never expected to sell more than Krokus, but I'm happy doing my thing. This is what it's all about. It's like caress my soul, with rock and roll. And so yeah, I'm hoping, hope dies last. And I'm hoping that things will change. And there's still a hell of a lot of COVID happening out there. I've been listening today to the news and here Switzerland, how many cases we have. It's not over, Rover. And then with the war happening here next door, this idiot of a guy causing all this trouble for his bloody ego. I mean, holy moly, we're not going through rosy times. But still, I could make it over, and the wind might change, like the Scorpions said. Which brings me back. I do have a gig with the Scorpions coming up. And
Mm.
I said, Dieter Dirks and T Recordings in Cologne, and they are actually old buddies of mine. That's the way I see it. I was a young, naive kid, and the Scorpions were already playing like "Rock You Like a Hurricane." I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. Yet T was doing like progressive music. We were influenced by Genesis and Yes, and
Okay.
but we had Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin in the back pocket. Those were older influences. You know, so this thing, in case any of you is out here in Switzerland on the 18th of June this year, 2022, I will be in the uh, Hallenstadion in Zurich with the Scorpions, opening up for the Scorpions and having fun. Sorry, wrong date. Sorry. Ding, 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 ding. 21st May in the Hallenstadion with the Scorpions. And another one. Get ready for this one. School's out for summer. I'll be doing Rock the Ring. The Rock the Ring Festival is one of the greatest festivals in Switzerland. And if you're in Switzerland on the 18th of June this year, 2022, don't worry, we'll still be alive. Well, you know, we're going to shut him up. Uh, no, with Alice Cooper. Yeah, school's out. Yeah, amazing. So it
Oh
would be
yeah.
so nice to see his show again. And it'll be a nice opportunity for me and my band to get on stage and rock the shit out of it and get your spirits high. I'm looking forward to play the new songs from my new album, Live and Let Live. And no joke, it's I'm gonna do this till I die.
You'll have to brush up on schools out. Maybe Alice will bring you up on stage with him. That'd be cool.
Yeah, one more time. He did bring me back on stage. Look, I got it right here. Yeah, there's this project called Rock Meets Classic. Can you see that?
Hmm.
Rock Meets
Ian
Classic.
Gillan. Yep.
Well, this was something else. These were 19 dates with Ian Gillan and you know Rick Parfitt, God rest his soul, Eric Martin, Mr. Big, John Wetton, rest his soul,
Yeah.
uh, Marc Storace, still alive, still alive, and Gianna Nannini, she's huge. She is huge, And Freddie Steady, our ex-drummer, played in one of her first bands after he was no longer in Krokus.
Mm.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Rock Meets Classic because Alice Cooper headlined it uh, a way back. I can't remember which date, but I was invited in the Hallenstadion in Zurich again to join him on Schools Out, and I even sang a couple of Krokus songs there on my own. And it's with Rock Meets Classic is, you got the rock band, and then you got this classical orchestra with a lovely backing vocalists, and full power. It's full power stuff. It really rocks. And when we rocked the Hallenstadion together, and this tour was 19 dates. Amazing.
Hmm.
Amazing. All that equipment, all those trucks and buses. I have never been on such a tour in my life.
Wow. That's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff. I just got
amazing.
a couple, just about two more questions for you. The first one, obviously, you guys have released a lot of music from the beginning of your first album, Metal Rendezvous, all the way up until the last one here. Out of the later albums, past post 1980s, what album would you say would you consider your favorite out of the later catalog? Do you have a favorite?
From
After,
Krokus,
yeah, after like Heart Attack.
after Heart Attack, I would say To Rock or Not to Be had a hell of a lot of good songs on it.
Hmm.
Lionheart and Flying Through the Night.
Oh yeah.
You know, oh, great, great stuff on there. And actually, that was the first big Crocus reunion, which happened without any big bells. You know what I mean? No
Hmm.
big announcements. It was all of us back together, minus Chris Von Rohr. He was too busy working with Gotthard anyway in those days, producing. And we were not on talking terms yet. We were still young, not like today. Today, I sing a different tune, and you can hear that on Live and Let Live.
Yes.
That's my philosophy today. Um, so my favorite, well, yeah, To Rock or Not to Be. There's some great songs on Rock the Block as well,
Yep.
um, which was really nice. Actually, that was a nice period because after the frustration of recording the album To Rock or Not to Be and going on tour in Switzerland for a whole month, sold out places and a gold album, the rest of Europe was like, you know, dead for us. So we split up again because
Mm.
by that time, Freddie Steady, Mark Kohler, and myself became daddies. You know, we had little kids at home and we couldn't just pack our suitcase and say, bye, wife, we're off on tour and look after everything yourself, unless you can send her money, you know, to pay the rent and do this, that, and the other. But there was actually so little coming in. I really, we were pulling all the hunger strings, you know. So, and that's hard to believe. I know it's hard to believe, but you know, reality is different. You know, in show business, you're 90% working and 10% on stage and in the public eye, and you don't hear much of what happens the rest of the time. Uh, yeah, and after that, we even did a double album. We recorded a live double album, Fire and Gasoline, uh, of actually to that day. To that day, it was the longest European tour ever uh, by Krokus. And we played the Montreux Jazz Festival, which is actually not really only jazz, you know.
Mhm.
When Korn plays there, you can't call it a jazz festival, can you? It started off with watching Deep Purple play there, and actually their song "Smoke on the Water," you know where that was written, yeah.
Mhm.
When the Montreux Jazz Festival, or rather the festival, burnt down, you know. But that's another story. And and we went on then to do. I think it was Hellraiser then, and that was also another different chapter because Fernando had to leave and he had an operation in his hand. And I took Mandy on board, Mandy Meyer, who had been in Krokus in 1982, but never on a Krokus album. And I said, hey, Mandy, you want to come on tour with us? We'll tour the States 2005
Mhm.
without a new album, totally unorthodox, real high risk suicidal tour. It was a club tour of about 25 dates in a month. But we were younger and we'd fall down and stand up again. And we just enjoyed being together on a tour bus, smoking reefers and drinking beer and playing rock and roll, you know, again, you know, like in the early days. It was nice. And then we came back and we wrote Hellraiser, and Mandy is to be heard for the first time on a Krokus album. And then we had, to date, the longest European tour the band has ever had, you know. And we were special guests with Hammerfall. This is also something new, modern, you know, for me. And I was, you know, had my computer by them and was looking into internet, checking out their website and stuff. It was all new to me. And we got into that, and it was great being on the road and kicking ass again.
Mm.
and uh, and then it happened. We were called by Swiss television to do this medley um, on TV, and we had standing ovations. And it wasn't the Hellraisers; it was just me from the band with two original members. Actually, the two founder members, Chris, the first founder member, and Fernando, who joined later on. Actually, between the three of us, we wrote the most of those Krokus songs that you know that were recorded. And so we came together, and after that show, it was like the point of no return. And I knew if I don't do it now, it's now or never. If we don't reunite, and now the opportunity is gonna fly back out of the window. We're gonna go. Each one's gonna go his different ways with regrets, maybe. And
Mhm.
so let's try and get together, and we did, and we did the first reunion concert in the big stadium in Bern, the Stade des Suisses, which was packed with like people so happy to see, old and new fans so happy to see the band back together again, with Freddie Steady on drums again and stuff. Then we recorded Hoodoo, and that was self-produced. Chris had accumulated a lot of experience producing Gotthard, so we said, "Go for it." And he does a good job there, keeping everything together. Coordination of all the stuff. Has a good ear for what should be there, and what's good for the songs and so on. So it was good because we could relax and let someone else uh, take care of all the little details. And after Hoodoo, which was a success, gold, platinum, we did Dirty Dynamite, and same thing with that. And plus the gigs that followed, and the band, we came together as human beings even closer than we ever were, on a mature level, instead of a competitive level. It's like, come on, give me a break. We're old enough now, this kind of vibe. So on, and let's fight for the good of the ship, not for the good of the individual. And actually, um, what's symbolic of that was, we recorded then a whole album of covers, songs which we all liked together. We did a whole long list of songs, and we, Chris picked up all the ones that we liked in common, and we jammed them out and released Big Rocks, which also, gold, platinum. It's great. It's like everything we were doing. We were longer together since that whole time in the 80s.
Mhm.
We've been longer together since the reunion until the Amigas, Adios Amigos tour, you know, which says a lot, for itself.
Yeah, last question I have is now the U.S. Releases here, the Headhunter. It's right now it's just showing as far as it only went gold, but how do they go about the recertification process? It's got to have sold platinum by now, all these years later, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I believe it was very close to platinum back then.
Yeah.
So the certification has to be checked, I guess, one more time, and because in the meantime, sales must have picked up a little bit more again. Um, but I was never the one for uh, doing all that administrative stuff. I'm not the manager type of guy. I'm more the creative artist, singer. Uh, I don't know. But we'll find out sooner or later. And if it has, then that's the way it is, and it's not going to change. So it's a matter of going after it.
All right. Well, any last things you want to mention about the new album? Anything else you want to bring up that we haven't touched on before I let you go?
Well, if you wanna listen to the new album, purchase it. You'll be doing a good deed. helping a good cause. You can order via indiemerchstore.com. Indie Merch Store, it's one word, .com. And if you want to have some fun, look into details uh, about me and my bandmates and stuff, and see where the videos are, the new ones, then go to my new homepage, www.storace.ch. You got it?
We got it.
Cool.
All right. All right, sounds good. Well, I appreciate your time and good luck with
thank,
everything with the
thank
new
you.
album. It's sounding great, and we'll keep those fingers crossed that we'll see you sometime in the near future over here on U.S. soil. Let's hope.
I'm dying to come over, so let's see what happens. Whatever you can make happen, make it happen, and bring us over there. Maybe some promoter is listening now and is thinking, well, why not? Hey, Storach, come back over, Rover.
All right. Well,
Thanks a lot. Thanks
thank
a
you.
lot for the pass. I'd like to say to all my fans, all Krokus fans out there, thanks for all the loyalty you showed us in the past and the great times we had together at all those concerts. It's unforgettable. And not only in the USA, obviously, but since you're there, that's why I'm mentioning them as a priority. Because obviously we had just as much fun in Canada and some South American gigs and the rest of Europe. But hey, American woman, stay away from me. Thank you
All right.
very much,
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Joseph. All the best.
All right. You too.